Hi, now we're back to beginning American English. Remember, there's the talking in American English. This is beginning American English. This is lesson 9, and I'm going to be talking about using the right pronoun. At an earlier time in one of my videos, I talked about subject pronouns, and I said I would talk about the other pronouns later. We have pronouns that we call personal pronouns, because they refer to persons specifically, except when it might be an it, like an object or an animal. So in our beginning American English using pronouns, we have the subject pronouns. By the way, this is my special art. I hope you appreciate it. Here's I'm talking about this person right here. Then there's you. I'm talking directly to someone or a group of people, but I'm talking directly to them. We, I am including myself with others, so it becomes we. Now I'm talking outwardly about these people, so I use the word they. And then we have, when I'm talking to someone else outwardly about a male, he. And if I'm talking about a female, she. Don't you like the cute bow in her hair? Okay. And then if I'm talking about an it, an animal or an object like a box or a brick, something else. So the subject pronouns are I, you, we, they, he, she, it. But I'm going to leave this up here so that you can refer to it if you want while we talk about these sentences. Remember I talked about a linking verb when we were doing verbs way back there. A linking verb cannot have an object. So if I put a pronoun here and a pronoun here, technically they're supposed to both be subject pronouns because it's just renaming it. So formally, if someone said or asked the question, who has the answer? It is I. It is I after the verb, linking verb. Or if I answer the phone and someone says, may I speak to Linda? I usually say, this is she, because she is after a linking verb. It's not an object. Now that's the way we are supposed to say it formally. After a linking verb, you keep the subject pronoun. You won't hear that much because we're usually talking more casually. And we'll say, it's me, it's her. So when we do that, we're thinking sort of like in Korean. I don't know if other languages do this, but when you have a word and you put the n or n under it or beside it or with it, anyway, it's like marks it. So I'm marking this person, me, without actually thinking of it as in a sentence. And so we're doing that here too. We're not thinking of it as being the subject, although it should be the subject. So we use it this way most of the time, but technically, after a linking verb, it would be a subject pronoun. Now, we also use it when it tells who does the action of an action verb. This was linking verb. This is an action verb. I laugh. You won. We talked. They left. She runs. He has sung. It is hiding. So it is the subject of the sentence. It comes before the verb, and it is a subject pronoun. Now we also have object pronouns. Same pictures, but this time it's going to come after something. It comes after a verb or after a preposition. And we use me, you, pointing directly to you or a group of people, us. It was we, but now it's us. And remember, that's from your stomach. Us, them, him, her, it. It doesn't matter whether it's subject or object. You and it don't change, but the others do. Okay, so I'm going to leave the object pronouns up here while I give you some examples of that. Object pronouns. Who does the action verb affect? The manager chose me for that job. The owner paid you for the work. The teacher called us. Now remember, this is taking the place of a noun, so I would suggest maybe it was the parents. We already know who it is before we use us. So somewhere earlier we talked about parents. So now we know this means the parents. The audience sees them on stage. The audience would be the people sitting out in a crowd of seats, and they're looking on stage at the actors. So the audience sees them on stage. The woman asked him for directions. Maybe it was the policeman. The detective found her, the missing child. The boy throws it, maybe the ball, something. So all of these come after an action verb. And then when it comes after a preposition, it's still object pronoun. The bird flew over me. That's telling where it flew. It's not flew something, so it's not a direct object. It's flew over. Now I'm underlining the preposition. I bought it for you. That team will play against us, meaning my team. The manager talked to them, the people. The woman worried about him, the sick person. The cat walked behind her, a woman. The child ran from it, the dog. So these are not after verbs. Well, there is a verb, but the point of there being an object pronoun is they're after a preposition. Okay, so those are the two times that we use object pronouns. Now, I wanted to show you this other example, and I need to teach this to Native American English speakers too, because they hardly ever get this right. When I was growing up, we learned this, but American schools decided to get a little easier on their students and said, well, if we understand what you mean, we won't worry too much about rules. And it's been disaster. My own children have trouble with this, and it's so simple. The woman and I met at the store. If we take out the woman and I met at the store, that's not hard. So it doesn't matter if there are two or just I, it's I met. The man met the woman and me at the store. The man met, leave this out, me at the store. Everyone says that correctly. However, if you put an and with a woman, people don't know what to do. And so they'll say, the man met the woman and I. The man met me. The man met the woman. The man met the woman and me at the store. Okay, my English teacher heart just breaks when I hear it the wrong way. My wife and I visited the neighbors. I visited the neighbors. Nobody has trouble with that. My wife visited the neighbors, assuming I'm a man and I have a wife. Okay. But when we put it together, sometimes people will say me. My wife and me visited the neighbors. No. My wife visited the neighbors. I visited the neighbors. My wife and I visited the neighbors. Okay. I don't have a wife. The neighbors visited my wife and me. The neighbors visited my wife. The neighbors visited me. The neighbors visited my wife and me. Many Americans will say, my wife and I, and it makes me cry. Okay. He and his son watched the child play. He watched the child play. His son watched the child play. He and his son watched the child play. The child watched him and his son walk. The child watched him. The child watched his son. The child watched him and his son walk. She and her cousin called their friends. She called her friends. Her cousin called their friends. But Americans will sometimes say her and her cousin called their friends. It's not right. Their friends called her and her cousins. Their friends called her. Their friends called her cousin. Their friends called her and her cousin. Okay, got that off my chest. I got to say it. Okay. Getting it off my chest means it's something I wanted to say and I finally said it. So now it's off my chest. So next we have reflexive pronouns. Now reflexive pronouns can be used just like object pronouns. But here's the way they work. Myself. Yourself when it's one person, or yourselves when it's more than one person. Ourselves, all of us together. Themselves. Himself, herself, its self. Okay, when do we use those words? Well, it's very easy, really. Let me put it right here. Because they are used very much like objects. So here's an example. I ask myself. I and myself are the same person. This is subject, this is object, but it's the same person. I ask myself. I don't say I ask me. I ask myself what to do. You see yourself in the picture. Hold up a picture. Oh, do you see yourself? You see yourself, same person. You see yourselves in the picture. If there are two of you in the picture, and I'm talking to both of you, do you see yourselves in the picture? Same person. To use self or selves, it has to be the same as this other word. It has to mean the same person or persons. We question ourselves when we aren't sure. We're questioning ourselves. They trust themselves to choose wisely. They trust themselves. They have to make a choice. I believe we'll do well. You believe we'll. They all believe. They trust themselves to choose wisely. He tells himself to be careful. He is talking to himself in his brain. Self, be careful. He tells himself to be careful. She finds herself all alone. She looks around, no one's there. She finds herself all alone. And this little bird looks in the mirror and it sees itself in the mirror. These you have to use in renaming the subject, but it's the object here. Now I could say, I myself want to know, and I'm just saying I and myself both as an extra emphasis on myself. You yourselves should go. We ourselves, and so sometimes we just double this with an ourselves because it means the same thing and it's just more emphasis. Most of the time though it will be after a verb and it will be like a direct object, but the direct object and the subject are the same people. So we use the self, ourselves part. Okay, And then we have our possessive pronouns next. Possessive means you own something. Now, it could be my or it could be mine. I'll show you in a minute when you use those two. Your or yours. Our or ours. The we thing. Our or ours. Their or theirs. His or his. It doesn't change spelling. Her or hers. Its. And we usually don't use it. When I show you how we use that second form, we don't use it with its. This is my, your, our, their, his, her, its. Or mine, yours, ours, theirs, his, hers, its if we used it. Okay, here are the sentences that go with that. I think it is my hat. Now I used my because I'm going to tell the thing that I own, hat. I think it is my hat. I pick it up, look at, yes, it is mine. I don't have to say hat again, but I can't leave my by itself because my has to have something to own. I think it is my hat. Yes, it is mine. I think this is your ticket. Yes, it is yours. So your ticket, yours. I think this is our table. Yes, it is ours. Is this their car? Yes, it is theirs. Is it his wallet? Yes, it is. Is this her address? Yes, it is hers. Is this its nest? Yes, it is. I'm not going to say. If we make this a contraction and say its, I would be saying yes, it's. And we don't like to say that. So we just say yes, it is. Stop. Is this its nest? Yes, it is. Forget the its. Okay, so those are possessive pronouns because they show possession. It belongs to me, it belongs to you, it belongs to them. And so those are all of the personal pronouns. There are indefinite pronouns and others that we just use in conversation. I'm not going to teach them.